It's great to see everyone here tonight, and thank you for joining me for a special meeting with a couple of very special guests talking about a very important issue about wildfire preparedness and insurance non-renewables. We know that with the effects of climate change, that we are increasingly at greater risk for wildfires, especially in our rural areas. But even in those places that are in the wildland urban interface are at risk. There's been great work that's been done in the 1st District and throughout Santa Cruz County. We've established a countywide fire safe council. We are establishing fire-wise communities. And in the Summit area of the 1st District, we are working on a huge shaded fuel break project to ensure evacuation routes if it comes down to a problem with an evacuation needed. Tonight, I'm going to be joined by some great guests. State Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara, County Supervisor Bruce McPherson, and joining us a little bit later will be Assembly Member Mark Stone. Let me first introduce my colleague and co-host of this evening, Supervisor Bruce McPherson. He was elected to the Santa Cruz County Board of Supervisors in November 2002 and has been re-elected ever since. He represents the 5th District, which includes the San Lorenzo Valley, most of Scotts Valley, and a small part of the city of Santa Cruz. He's a 4th-generation Santa Cruz native, and Bruce's career began as a reporter at his family newspaper, The Sentinel, later rising to editor. He served 2 terms in the California State Assembly and 2 terms in the California State Senate. Following the resignation of California's Secretary of State in early 2005, Bruce was confirmed unanimously in both the Assembly and Senate to be the Secretary of State. Supervisor McPherson has been a great ally and he cares about the issue of fire safety, but he's also been a great leader on our board, and his office spearheaded a 5-year effort to explore a regional community choice energy agency, which led to the establishment of the Monterey Bay Community Power. The Joint Powers Agency, which now includes over 19 jurisdictions from not only our Tri-County region, but also San Luis Obispo, began serving more than 200,000 customers' accounts in July 2008. Supervisor McPherson is the chair of the Monterey Bay Community Power Policy Board. I want to welcome you tonight, Bruce. Thank you for being here. Also with us tonight is Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara. Ricardo Lara is California's 8th elected insurance commissioner. As a leader of the nation's state consumer protection agency, he's charged with protecting all California consumers. He was raised in East Los Angeles by immigrant parents. Commissioner Ricardo Lara made history in 2018 by becoming the first openly gay person elected to statewide office in California history. Commissioner Lara previously served in the California legislature, representing the Assembly District 50 from 2010 to 2012, and Senate District 33 from 2012 to 2018. During this COVID pandemic, he's been very busy. The commissioner has taken action to protect consumers, workers, businesses, and among those other actions, early in April, on the 13th, the insurance commissioner ordered insurance companies to return a percentage of our premiums to businesses and drivers affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. The next day, he required companies to comply with their contracts and California law by fairly investigating all business interruption claims caused by COVID-19, just as they would for any disaster. While businesses have encountered problems in the past following wildfires and other disasters, we have seen nothing on the scale, with thousands of businesses closed and drastically reducing payroll. Commissioner Lara is here today to provide resources and answer our questions, and I want to thank you for being here, Commissioner. Lastly, it looks like we just got joined by Assembly Member Mark Stone. Mark represents the people of the California's 29th Assembly District, which includes portions of Santa Cruz, Santa Clara, and Monterey County. He's now in his 4th term as a state legislator, and he's earned his reputation as a leader helping California's most vulnerable residents. He was elected twice to the Santa Cruz County Board of Supervisors. I had the good pleasure of serving with him, and while there, he held leadership roles in the Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Commission, the first 5 commissions. He's been an amazing environmental defender at the local level. He spearheaded the successful effort to ban single-use plastic bags. And in addition to his duty while he was county supervisor, Mark served the entire Central Coast as vice chair on the California Coastal Commission. And prior to all that work, he was a school board member on the Scotts Valley Unified School District. Thanks for being here this evening, Mark.
Thanks, John. Happy to be here.
Why don't we just start with a brief introduction from Bruce.
Thank you, John. Thank you for having me on this program as well. It's very important to my district. Commissioner, I represent the 5th district, which previous to my election was represented by the Assemblymember Stone. It's a heavily forested area, very huge concerns, some transportation issues for evacuation needs and so forth, but we are addressing those as best we can. It is critical. We have a very, shall I say, a very involved community up there that is very interested in their insurance woes that they're having to go through. Some of them have been canceled, some of them have been greatly increased, and you've heard that story on and on again. So this issue of fire insurance and including evacuation routes and the whole gamut really is important to my 5th district in the San Lorenzo Valley in particular, but Scotts Valley as well. We have had some fire breaks put in place and are planning some others, and it can't come soon enough because we've seen some fires already break out in the state of California. So I do appreciate your attention to our county, and it's very nice to have you here.
And Assemblymember Stone, would you like to say a few words?
I would. Thank you, Ricardo. Very nice to see you again. Thanks for joining us here. It's really good. You've been doing an absolutely fabulous job. And the issue we're here talking about today has been really a long-standing issue. And in fact, a number of years ago, the county took the step to adopt an urban wildland interface code. We did that because even then, this was, a number of years ago, because there were a lot of folks who were starting to see that their insurance was not getting renewed even then. We've always been a high fire area and some challenges. And now that we're seeing such significant fires across the state, we're feeling very vulnerable to what the insurance companies will or won't do. And the county has taken steps like putting that urban wildland interface code in place that provided some relief back then to ensure that people could then appropriately apply for fire insurance. So this is something that's been an issue for as long as Santa Cruz County has been around. We have seen fires, we will see fires. And there, in the forests that we have, there are lots of people living there who rely on the ability to have wildfire insurance. So even though we didn't see the catastrophes at the same level over the last couple of years that we saw further north in California, our constituents are really worried about their ability to stay insured. And that's why this is very timely. We very much appreciate you being here, providing the information that you can to us here today. And I know that your door is always open to us and the challenges that we have. So thank you.
Well, I just want to thank you all for being here. I want to let people know that tonight we're not going to be taking questions from the audience because we've developed a set of questions to be able to ask the commissioner. I'm grateful for the time he's given us, and we will be doing follow-up in our respective districts to talk about some of these issues. But I appreciate the leadership being here. Commissioner Lara, do you want to start with a presentation about some of the things you've been working on and some of the issues that you've been dealing with around this?
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor Leopold, Supervisor McPherson. Always great to see you, my friend. And of course, my buddy, Assemblymember Stone, thank you again for this opportunity. Trust me, I wish we could do this in person because I know how beautiful that part of California is. And I'm proud to say that now I represent it as well. So take that. Thank you again. I'm happy to join you today as we talk about wildfire preparedness. and non-renewals, which is an issue that's plaguing the entire state of California now. For our small businesses that are trying to find insurance for our homeowners and many of your constituents, I'm proud to give you an update on the work that we're doing on your behalf. So I know we have a PowerPoint. If we can move to the first slide, please. Are we, maybe we're having problems. I'll
Yeah.
just go ahead and continue. Over the past year, before the COVID-19 pandemic, I joined meetings in 22 different counties on wildfire insurance issues across the state that were attended by more than 2,000 people. This continues to be an issue that continues to grow and is affecting counties from throughout the entire state. Since the governor's stay-at-home orders were issued back in March, we have also held close to 30 teletown halls focused on business issues like business interruption, workers' compensation is another big issue. And we reached over 7,000 businesses and consumers on COVID-19 related issues. Like COVID-19, the reality is that wildfires are a statewide problem, as I mentioned. And fires that have, we've already seen this year, as Senator McPherson was saying, is a reminder that wildfire season is already here, whether we're ready for it or not. CAL FIRE and other agencies have responded to thousands of fires already this year in nearly every county, including in Santa Cruz, of course. And we held a town hall with CAL FIRE and the Governor's Office of Emergency Services and consumer groups earlier this month to talk about preparedness and preparation and what people should be looking at and looking for. And you could find that with a lot of helpful links on our website at insurance.ca.gov. So let's talk wildfires. If we have another wildfire season that damages and destroys homes and businesses, our department, I want to make sure that you know that we will be there to help you recover. After the devastating Tubbs and Camps fires in 2017 and 2018, we organized insurance workshops where we met one-on-one with wildfire survivors for the 2017 and 2018 wildfires, as well as the 2018 fire-related Montecito mudslide. As you can recall, our Department of Insurance intervened and was able to recover more than $240 million for wildfire claimants. So what are we doing? The California Department of Insurance, recognizes that homeowners, especially those that are living in the WUI, are experiencing non-renewals with over 600% increase in complaints to the department since 2010. You heard me right, 600% increase in complaints about non-renewals since 2010 into our department, and they're just gonna continue to skyrocket. Premium increases with more than 268 rate increase filed by insurance companies. That's from 2017 to July 2020. So insurance companies are trying to make up for those losses by increasing their rates. And the lack of availability of insurance in traditional homeowners and renters market continues to exacerbate the entire state as well. So we are seeing an availability issue and an affordability issue throughout the state. And the FAIR plan, which is our coverage of last resort, we know that it's not comprehensive and that we need to do a better job to make sure that it's comprehensive and that it kind of becomes more of a traditional homeowners insurance product where people have, a more comprehensive coverage and they don't have to buy additional wraparound coverage that only increases cost for consumers that are already paying a significant amount. And so I'll give you an update on that as well. So we've experienced 10 of the 20 most destructive wildfires in California's history, and they've occurred between 2015 and 2018. As risk increases, the cost of insurance also increases and the availability of coverage directly starts to decrease. Insurers consider the very recent past to underwrite and to determine what the rates are for the future. So with a 25 billion in losses alone in 2017 and 2018, that is why we are seeing insurance companies starting to request these increase in rates. So the best way to increase availability and affordability of homeowner insurance is to decrease the risk of loss. Senator Stone was talking about the innovation that Santa Clara County has done in terms of creating the wildfire spaces. Did we get this working? Oh, cool. We are, we get it? Let me see, I think we're on the slide on the 10 to 20 most fires. Or whatever, I mean, yeah, there we go. Perfect, thank you. You know, technology, we could do a lot of things, but it happens. So, like I said, with the $25 billion in losses from 2017 and 2018, this is why we're seeing insurance companies request these rate increases. What we want to do is make sure that there's equity between the increases and guarantees of coverage for our homeowners. Because currently, all the responsibility is falling on our homeowners, and they're the ones that are bearing 100% of the brunt of this without any mandates on insurers to actually guarantee coverage, especially for homeowners who've already invested thousands of dollars in hardening their home, and yet they still have no guarantee for coverage. So we wanna fix that. Next slide, please. So we're seeing, as I was saying earlier, the best way to increase the availability and affordability is by lessening the overall risk of loss. This includes, and these are many things that you already have been doing and have been visionaries and way ahead of the game in terms of building code upgrades, fire resistant modifications, land use planning, community-wide abatement, defensible space. You know, I believe insurance companies need to do more to support mitigation efforts at the local level, not just at the parcel, but at the community-wide, right? Because we hear time and time again, so many homeowners are like, well, I've done everything to mitigate my property, but my neighbor hasn't, or the front neighbor hasn't. So we need to develop statewide community plans and put those in statute so that we all are playing on an equal playing field, and also give you the flexibility to make sure that it meets the uniqueness, the topography, the geography of a given community. You know, I sponsored legislation that would require insurance companies to cover a fire-hardened home and a fire-hardened community. And this is an issue that I'm going to continue to pursue. Fortunately, in the assembly, we didn't get a hearing in the insurance committee, but you know, we're going to continue to push for this legislation. Next slide, please. So before my election as insurance commissioner, I proudly authored Senate Bill 824, which gives protection against insurance non-renewals to everyone living in or near the perimeter of a declared wildfire emergency. Last year, we put that law into effect for the first time. So, you know, now there is more than 1 million homes in 180 different zip codes that are protected until December 2020 from non-renewal. You can find that whole list of zip codes on our website at insurance.ca.gov. And if we have a, you know, God forbid, if we have a state-related declared disaster in Santa Cruz County this year or beyond, this new law will protect you from non-renewals for a year as well. We wanted to give some time to families to be able to not only process what just has happened, but give them a time to figure out what their options are without having the fear of being completely dropped from their insurance companies as they're trying to rebuild or as they're trying to just cope with the loss and what just happened. We felt it was a humane thing to do. So in the future, if God forbid these catastrophes happen and people are within the perimeter of the fire, they would be protected as well. If we could jump to the next slide, I wanted to just quickly talk to you about some of the COVID actions, just so that you understand the work that we're doing in this space quickly. Before we jump into the questions about wildfire, I wanted to just give you an opportunity, because of the stay-at-home orders, we have seen fewer accidents on the roads and fewer insurance losses at businesses. So I ordered insurance companies to return a portion of premiums to businesses and drivers affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Because of my order, I'm proud to say that California automobile insurance companies have returned $1.2 billion in savings to drivers. And we are still reviewing the premium relief for the businesses that I ordered. And for maximum transparency, I've also posted every insurance company's report about their premium relief to the Department of Insurance. And again, you can see that on our website. Quite frankly, we know people were staying at home. They were driving less. We wanted them to stay at home. And so they were no longer paying for that level of risk previous to the pandemic. And so it was only fair that insurance companies returned those premiums and a portion of those premiums back to consumers. And we were proud to say that I'm the only state and the only insurance commissioner that also expanded this to our local businesses. As local electeds, you can appreciate that, trying to figure out how we keep these businesses open, at least where they're getting some reprieve from their workers' comp, their multi-peril, their commercial vehicle policies, and also for medical malpractice for those that have their individual practices and are forced to not have these selective surgeries. So at least we could give them some money back on their insurance premiums. If we can go to the next slide. Again, we've also are asking the insurance companies to give people grace periods to pay their premiums. Many insurance companies have honored that request by offering flexibility to consumers and businesses during the emergency. So if people are having a difficult time, call your insurance company and they will give you a grace period to pay your premium. What I don't want is for our consumers to lose their health insurance coverage or lose their coverage, their property insurance coverage during a pandemic. That is the worst case scenario. And so please call your insurance company. You can also call us if you have any questions. Other actions that I've taken is we required insurance companies to comply with their contracts and California law, as our commissioner was saying, by fairly investigating every business interruption claim. We've extended personal auto coverage for delivery drivers so that they are California essential businesses as they're delivering goods. And we also took action so that people with expired licenses or registration can maintain their auto insurance and their good driving discount while access to the DMV is limited. Next slide, please. And so I joined also with Covered California in urging uninsured Californians to obtain insurance through so that they can protect their health. We've directed health insurance companies to submit emergency plans on prescriptions and health access, including increased telehealth access to consumers. And we've also eliminated all cost sharing on COVID-19 testing. So I encourage you, if you have any questions about either your reimbursement for your business or your personal auto, or you need help with a premium relief extension, if you've called your insurance company and you don't like what they've told you or you don't agree with, give us a call. I encourage you to contact our department at 1-800-927-4357, or you can visit our website at insurance.ca.gov. If you have any questions regarding, with regards to any measures, if you want help with our experts, we have insurance experts. This is not a recording. You're going to talk to an individual. And lastly, again, if we can move to the next slide, I want to just urge businesses to be on the lookout for fraud and insurance scams. Unfortunately, during these times is when we see businesses being targeted by fraud. If you see any red flags or suspicious activity, please report that to the Department of Insurance. We have 300 sworn investigators and enforcement personnel with 9 regional offices throughout the state, including our office in Morgan Hill that serves Santa Cruz County. I will also just tell businesses to be on alert for those offering bogus workers' compensation policies. And also you can verify the legitimacy of the selling agent and the policy that's being offered on our website, or you can contact the insurance company. And I know these things sound, it sounds like this is the right thing to do, but you'll be surprised how so many people get fooled by people posing as agents or posing as folks that are trying to, as a legitimate insurance policy. It happens over and over again. So please don't feel that you're offending the agent if you ask them for a card. Don't feel that you're offending them by verifying the policy that they're selling you. It's all about protecting yourself during these times, and quite frankly, every time. So as I close with the next slide, like I said before, we're supporting the governor's stay-at-home directives, and we continue to provide essential services to California consumers. And we're available again via phone, 1-800-927-4357, or through our website at insurance.ca.gov to assist with your claims. Look, insurance is complicated. It's complicated for your insurance commissioner and your supervisors and your assembly members. It's okay. We have insurance experts ready to help and answer your questions in multiple languages. And like I said before, you're talking to an actual person, not just a recording. I'm really looking forward to answering your questions today. And thank you again for the invitation.
Thank you, Commissioner Lara. It was a great presentation, and I just appreciate the advocacy for ratepayers on all levels of insurance. And it was a great surprise, and the leadership in showing just getting back our driver's premium at the start of this pandemic was a great way to help people out during difficult times. And then your work to help us around some of these wildfire issues becomes really critically important. So thank you very much for your leadership. I want to just turn it over to Assemblymember Stone to ask some questions. I know that Assemblymember Stone has to leave because he's got a number of bills, including one that's really critical to our local fire agencies that he's got to deal with on the bill. And you remember what that was like. But I just want to ask Mark if you have a couple questions that you wanted to ask the commissioner.
Yeah, thank you, John. And in fact, I apologize that I was late getting to connect in here because I was in Senate committee, and we did pass that bill that will facilitate the consolidation of the two fire agencies, Aptos Selva and Central Fire. So that's moving. That's been a lot of work, and working with the PERS agency and a lot of other folks, we're getting that done, which is germane to the subject here because that's about efficient delivery of fire services. But thank you. I'm also in another committee right now, and that's been running long.
I don't miss those days. I'm sure Supervisor McPherson doesn't miss those days either.
Have to go back and vote at some point. But this is a very important issue. So, Commissioner, what's preventing us from having an affordable public option for disaster insurance?
You know, it's the conversations around a public option really. I don't think we're there yet. We have a healthy market. We have, as many people know, may not know, California is the largest insurance market in the country. We're fourth in the world. And one of my jobs is to monitor the solvency of our market and make sure it's strong so that we can get those claims paid. So a public option, unfortunately, even now, even before COVID, and now certainly with COVID, we just wouldn't be able to have enough money to be able to take on that risk. If we were to do a public option where we put all of the riskiest properties into one pool, we would never be able to individually finance that risk ourselves as a state. But there's been discussions about being creative, and we're certainly looking and continue to look at it as an option. But as we speak now, currently, we have a strong market. And, we're focused on creating these mandates for the insurance company so that the consumer is not bearing the brunt of the entire wildfire situation that we're living in.
Okay, well, that's good. And I'm glad you're considering it. And public options, public banks, yes, those are things that our constituents do understand and have generally been supportive of. So, yeah. So, and I know you have been too. Okay, and if I can jump ahead, that I know that you're prevented from telling insurers what level of risk they have to take on and that they have to underwrite and where they write insurance and all. But one of the things that our constituents have been a little bit concerned about was the recent moratorium on homeowners insurance cancellation in affected areas. And it seems like there needs to be a disaster before that can be addressed. And we're starting to see the consequences of that, where before our constituents have that disaster to be able to rely on that protection, they're potentially losing access to insurance. So
Right.
how do we make sure that they're protected as well?
Absolutely. And, when we were working on this bill in the Senate, we were trying to broaden it to be able to capture as many people as possible. And, where we ended up was trying to come up with a way that, okay, moving forward, we couldn't go backwards to capture previous incidents. But, I think the one way we would be much more proactive is if we, one, work together to lessen the overall community risk, and then mandate that insurance companies cover the homes that have been hardened. We're not asking them to cover every single home, but time and time again, we're seeing, and I'm sure you've seen this at the local level and in your office as a member, is that people invest thousands of dollars to do the right thing. And they create the defensible space. They fix the roofing. They cover their windows appropriately. And then the insurance company will still say, well, we're still dropping you. And so how are we then incentivizing people to do the right thing if they're still not going to be guaranteed coverage, and they're sent, to surplus lines, or they're sent to the FAIR plan that is not comprehensive coverage? And so what we want to do is get to the point where we, one, figure out and finally, once and for all, create statewide standards for mitigation. Right now, what exists is just a hodgepodge of different programs that are great, but that people are still having to adhere to without any guarantee of coverage. And so one of the things, people jokingly tell me, but it's going to get to the point where they say, well, if they want to get out of the homeowners market, then get them out of the entire market in California, right? And obviously I can't do that, but we have to make sure that the insurance companies also bear the brunt and some of the responsibility, and that it just doesn't fall on the homeowner, which, by the way, many people who are retired, who are, with disabilities, that are gonna need help. And there's this assumption somehow that we're just talking about Lake Tahoe ski chalets, but we know that people of diverse incomes and people that, quite frankly, are retired, many of them, one, can't do the upgrades themselves physically, but can't afford to do this. And so the state's gonna have to step in, as your bill and Assembly Wood's bill was working on trying to fix that and then got defunded. We need to put our money where our mouth is and help people. If we're gonna we incentivize them by providing them, either direct resources, a tax break, a loan forgiveness program, and that we mandate insurance companies to provide the coverage, so that there is an incentive there, and then there's a guarantee that they're gonna have homeowners coverage. And so I think right now, the balance is tipped completely to the industry, and all they want is to raise rates, and not let anybody tell them where they can cover, homeowners, or where homes are going to cover. And I think it's completely unfair.
Well, and right, which also raises the question, because as Santa Cruz has done the Urban Wildland Interface Code, as counties and even the state takes those steps to protect folks, I think the public needs to understand how the insurance companies determine fire risk. So where does that analysis live? How can the public have access to better understanding how insurance companies determine risk?
So it's funny you say that, because at first you would have the insurance companies say, well, mitigation works, and it's important. Now, as we're getting towards figuring out these catastrophe models and this technology, they're saying, well, now we're not sure that mitigation works. There's not really studies out there that verify that if you do the hardening and if you do the defensible space, that's going to matter, because wildfire is so spontaneous on where it comes and goes. So you're again you're seeing the insurance company kind of pivot towards, well, we don't know if defensible space really works. We know it works. You know it works. Your firefighters know it works. And so what we want is greater transparency in these new models that they want to include in the rate filings. Because right now, your constituents get a fire risk score, and there's no opportunity to mitigate that score, to understand why they have that score, or to make sure that there's a process by which they can lessen that score with instructions of what they need to do, or what algorithm was used to determine why neighbor A and neighbor B, often in the same block, have completely different policies, or one gets renewed and the other one doesn't. So we're asking for greater transparency, and so that our local governments know how these scores are being determined, if they're adequate and if they're fair. So that's another big fight that we're having, that you'll see us very soon hopefully come up with some regulatory changes that we're going to be looking for in this area.
That's great. And if we can help you out at all in the legislature, you know where we are.
Absolutely. And you've been phenomenal. Thank you for your support on all our measures, by the way.
Well, thank you. And I really miss you as appropriations chair, I have to tell you that. So John, Bruce, it's great to see you. I'm actually getting called back into committee. I've been getting texts. So I need to go back and do my job here. I hate to leave early, but Commissioner, thank you so much for being here and providing this information. John and Bruce, I look forward to the feedback. We should talk about kind of next steps or anything else that we can be doing together to make sure that we're helping to manage this problem and get information out to people. So John, thanks for hosting this.
Thank you for being here, Mark. Thank you for your work up in Sacramento and the work that you did here in Santa Cruz on the Board of Supervisors. We still use, and make good votes. That's all we're counting on you for.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah. Do no harm.
Oh.
Congratulations on getting that one bill out anyway.
Yeah.
We got that bill out. That should be wrapped up by the end of the month. So yeah,
That'll
we'll
make a big
make sure that
difference.
consolidation happens. Yeah.
It's the largest fire district consolidation in Santa Cruz. It'll make the largest fire district. It'll make a big difference, and people have been working on it for a long time. So your help is really critical. Thank you.
Well, we're making it happen. So
Yeah.
Good. All right.
Appreciate it.
Take care. Thanks.
Good.
Well, we have still a little bit of time, and I know we have some Supervisor McPherson and I both have questions. Bruce, do you have a question for Commissioner Lara?
Yeah. Are there any plans to update the fire hazard severity maps that show where the highest level of risk are located? We have plenty of them here, I think, but and will these maps take into account the mitigation that commensurate the communities that have undertaken some efforts for reduced risk?
Yeah, great question. According to CAL FIRE, they are in the planning process of updating the fire severity zone maps, and they try to do it on a 5-year cycle. A hazard typically doesn't really change much, but CAL FIRE technologies for mapping and for fire hazard severity zone include land use changes where cities have annexed into SRAs, state responsibly areas, and also includes much more detailed wind data, which is important, down to the 2 parcel level. So it is also more spatially detailed. Fire hazard severity maps consider factors, as you know, fire history, vegetation, topography, ember cast, or blowing embers for fire that would be wind driven, which is essentially what ends up happening in every situation. And of course, our weather. All those elements are put into CAL FIRE's modeling, and what comes out of that is the probability of an area burning and the expected fire behavior or intensity that is burning. The information is mapped into different categories, and so, however, I'm sad to say they still do not take into account mitigation efforts that communities are taking. It's simply just a hazard map. And kind of like a flood zone map per se. It just tells you what the hazard is and not the risk It is not really, I would say, a risk modeling type of map, unfortunately, but we need to get to a point where we could take into account not only the individual parcels mitigation, but the entire community. Again, trying to demonstrate that the risk is being lowered so that we can incentivize insurance companies to continue to write in these areas.
Right. Okay. Very good.
Thank you for that answer. Commissioner, I represent, part of my district is urban, part of it is rural. And I have a constituent who operates a small farm up in the Santa Cruz Mountains. Not a lot of great fire risk, it's open field. And their parcel is classified as both a moderate fire danger and another part of it appears to be a low fire danger. They've had 2 insurance companies cancel policies on them, and they're now on with AAA, but AAA has just canceled their neighbor's policy. So what choices will they have if they get canceled by a 3rd policy?
Yeah.
And is there a way that they can look to see how their parcel is being classified?
Yeah, and we unfortunately hear this time and time again. Currently, insurers use wildfire risk models that work as filters, essentially based on satellite imagery of the region that evaluates slope, fuel load type of fuel and access. If you don't get a passing score, you don't get coverage, which is, this is why we need transparency in this technology that really don't take into account mitigation. So, there are several versions of these risk models in use by the insurance industry. Of course, I'm sure Fireline and CoreLogic are the most commonly used models today, but there's several others. Because each model uses different data logic, there's no single definition of what score or rating your property will receive. And that's, that is unfortunate, because that is such a big grievance that we hear from constituents all the time. So right now, insurance companies are not required to give you the score, which is what we're trying to fix. And more importantly, even give you details of how the score was derived. So I definitely am going to be pushing either through the legislative efforts or through regulatory changes. I want to see greater transparency for these fire risk scores and these models, the ability for a consumer to appeal their score or take steps to mitigate their score. It's the right thing to do. And so, I have on the line Joel from my staff. I would like Joel Alcher from the department, who's really an expert on wildfire issues, to share some information on this point, because it's something that keeps happening time and time again. Joel, are you on?
Yes. Hello, Commissioner. I'm glad to join you and appreciate the opportunity to participate here in Santa Cruz, where I lived for 10 years and have a brother, and my mother-in-law and brother-in-law all live there. As you mentioned, the non-renewal is a common issue throughout the state. And of course, the homeowner who asked this has already been non-renewed twice. And they've been fortunate to find a 3rd carrier that will write them. But there is no guarantee of a renewal. And for that reason, the department has created a number of tools on our website to help you look for coverage. So again, the commissioner has mentioned insurance.ca.gov. On our website, you go to the consumers banner, and under the coverage types, you're looking at homeowners. You'll look for the top 10 tips for residential coverage. That's one tool. Another is our home insurance finder. So those are among the ways that we are giving you advice of how to thoroughly search the marketplace till you find another carrier. And unfortunately, there is no guarantee of finding a homeowner's policy. And if that happens to you, you can always go to the FAIR plan, right? That is our insurer of last resort, and they will write any insurable residential policy, no matter what the wildfire risk. I would also mention that some smaller farms get written as homes, and then there are some companies that will write the the home and the farm buildings all on a commercial fire or a farm policy. So you might be able to shop and find an agent. Obviously, you need to find a commercial agent that might be able to include your home on your farm property on a commercial coverage. So that's just another idea. And the commissioner has mentioned our phone number multiple times, but I'll say it one more time here, 1-800-927-4357 to ask someone can help you walk through these tools and assist you if need be.
Thank you, Joel. I appreciate it. And thank you, Commissioner Lara. We only have a couple minutes left, but I want to make sure Supervisor McPherson, if you had another question.
Yeah, what impact does the current status of the PG&E infrastructure replacement have on insurance rates or evaluation of risk? It's a big question in our area because we heavily forested and we've got lines running everywhere, and we're scared.
Yeah, no, that's right. As you may know, falling power lines have been the ignition point of many of our California wildfires. As utility companies act to harden, and they should have been doing this a long time, in my opinion, harden their infrastructure, and doing the active vegetation control, surge protection, sensors, all the things that we knew have been work, and any other measures that reduce the wildfire risk. This is critical work, and I'm hopeful that PG&E is moving forward quickly with these efforts. Joel, do you want to comment on this issue too? Because I know you've been asked about this stuff as well.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. We certainly do expect that those mitigation efforts by the utilities will have an impact, but it's really more of a long-term impact. As there are fewer ignitions caused by utilities, we would expect fewer losses, and the fewer losses that go in the loss experience, rates go down. However, utilities are just one ignition point, and insurers, while they recognize that it has been an important or really a problematic issue for them to have these utility-caused fires, they still underwrite based more on the fuel load of the property, and the accessibility of that property. In other words, how quickly can a fire truck get to that house and put out a fire? What is the likelihood of that happening? And so we're back to, again, another kind of mantra that the commissioner has been mentioning. It really is about the mitigation of risk, about creating broader avenues in terms of clearing brush back from roadways so fire departments can get access, and for the homes to have mitigated their surroundings so that they give that firefighting team time to get there before there is an ignition of that home. So the utilities is a long-term benefit, not so much immediate.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Commissioner, we have neighborhoods who are really trying to step up and do their part. They're becoming FireWise. We've had the first couple of FireWise communities in the first district, which has been great to see. We've created some shaded fuel breaks in both of our districts, and we're looking to create more to make it as safe as possible. People are hardening their homes, and we've increased the resources for the volunteer fire departments. Is there a way that insurance rates could calculate these efforts on a rural community to help prepare to help them with the cost of insurance?
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt that Santa Cruz has really been leading the way for so many years. Many insurance companies already include FireWise community discounts in their rating plans. I encourage all insurance companies to implement these similar discounts. Again, protection class, the rating system of measuring a community's firefighting resources is a component of basically every insurer's rating and underwriting structure. What isn't clear in the current risk models being used by property insurance companies is whether the granularity of their satellite evaluations will recognize the impact of the tactical fuel breaks, for example, that are being implemented throughout the state. So, as I can say that any mitigation effort that actually reduces loss will ultimately reduce insurance rates. Insurance rates are largely driven by the loss experience of homes with similar risk characteristics. So therein lies the kind of conundrum we're in.
Sure. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that we got a chance to talk with you directly about this. I know that Supervisor McPherson and I both answer these questions on a regular basis, and I'm sure my other colleagues do as well. They could have joined us and had lots of questions to boot. I just want to say that every level here in Santa Cruz, we're taking this seriously. We take it very seriously at a policy level. As you've heard from Assemblymember Stone, the fire districts are trying to figure out how to consolidate so they can have resources to be able to effectively fight fires. The voters here in Santa Cruz approved a ballot measure in January to increase funding for our county fire department, which we're grateful for, and they're going to have more firefighters on the engines. So those are all things that really help. I do want to share with people that I heard from Cabrillo College today, our great community college. They're going to be having an extension course this fall for homeowners as well as landscapers and folks in the remodeling trade to work with our deputy fire marshal from Central Fire and La Selva Fire, Marco Mack, to figure out ways that they can protect their homes and communities from wildfires. And the dates are going to be September 26th and October 3rd, and there'll be registration information that'll be coming up soon. But it's a way in which our local community college is also trying to provide these resources to help people out. I want to thank you for your advocacy and thoughtfulness about how to help people out. And I'm sure we'll be working together more to meet the needs of our community and the communities across the state. I just want to also turn it over to Supervisor McPherson. I don't know whether you had any closing words.
No, I just want to thank Commissioner Lara for everything you have done in your office in some trying times, and we've never seen the issues of fire in particular like we have in the recent years. And to try to get a mix and match, this is complicated, and to try to get a business, a company, an insurance company to come along and say, okay, let us know what we have to do and give us credit for it. I think that's one of the most important things that we have done. And you've, in various facets of the insurance coverage issue, you have really tried to be, really go out of the box to try to address what the needs are of the citizens of California. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. It's a slow process, but step by step, you're getting there. And I sincerely want to thank you for every one of your efforts that you've made in different facets of this whole insurance problem, whether it be health, fire, or whatever the case may be. But thank you very much.
And Commissioner Lara, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you. I appreciate you hosting this important town hall. We can, it's people often shy away from having conversations about insurance and just kind of shy it off and never sign your policy once and never look at it ever again. Well, that is harmful to you because that is what insurance companies want you to do. They want you to sign and just forget it. And they'll just take your money every month without you even paying attention, without really figuring out if you have the proper coverage, what are your rights in terms, and what are the exclusions that you have. So unfortunately, we need you to be vigilant and we can help you through that process. Things are complicated. I know for our business owners, they tell me all the time, I just want to run my business. I want to keep the doors open, but I want to make sure that my customers and my workers are safe. I said, okay, so every often give us a call. We'll review your policy. We'll help walk you through it to make sure that you have the most up-to-date protections. So the more important thing I wanted to say is you're not alone. We're gonna work with you. These forums are particularly informative and helpful, that we kind of demystify the enigma that is insurance and kind of really talk about it in a level where we all can try to figure this out on our own. You know, we could continue to have these dialogues. So I just want to thank both of you again. I wish we could have done this in Santa Cruz, trust me. But I will get back up there as soon as I can. And we'll love to continue to have these dialogues with your constituents, because you all have definitely led the way, paved the way for so many of our communities that are now trying to catch up to what you have done. And my job is to make sure that you're getting the credit for it, and that insurance companies take into consideration everything that you've done. And we're going to continue to fight until you get that. You get those discounts, you get the mandatory coverage, and you get all the advantages that come with, just as you would do as a good driving discount, right? And that you get the resources so that we can incentivize residents of Santa Cruz to continue to do the right thing and continue to protect their properties. So I'm in this fight for the long haul with you, and know that the department is here to help and fight the good fight with all of you. Thank you again.
Thank you. And it's great to have a partner in Sacramento. We're fortunate that when we had Assemblymember Stone and with you there, and we need to take on these issues. So thank you for giving the time today. Thank you for your staff being available to help us out at all times. I'll be back next week at my usual time at 6 o'clock, and we'll be talking with some historian about some issues in Live Oak. I'll share information with you in the future. I want to thank Supervisor McPherson for co-hosting tonight's town hall, and we'll be doing our individual town halls with our communities very, very soon. So thank you, good night, and be safe and stay healthy.